Yes. So, have you all opened your textbooks, dear children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, in our previous class, what did we learn?
Yes, ma'am.
What we learned about the
Overcoat. Overcoat.
no after overcoat, dear children. After overcoat. Yes. Yeah. Ode to a butterfly. Very good. So, we have learned in our previous class ode to a butterfly. And listen, children, all of you mute your system, and at the end, I'll give you 10 minutes. We shall discuss whatever problem we have got. Okay? Whatever that we, yes. So, in the between, none of you are going to disturb and none of you are going to talk. Whatever problem you have got, we will discuss at the end of the class. Clear?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. So now you can mute your systems. Okay, mute your system. Yes. So whatever you want to ask, you ask me at the end of the session. I'll give you 10 minutes at that time. Okay. So as I already told you, the meaning of the ode. Ode means praise or glorify. Okay. So today we shall do the third paragraph. Now listen carefully. Or is thy luster drawn from heavenly hue, a sumptuous drifting fragment of the sky, caught when the sunset its last glance imbued with sudden splendor, and the treetop high grasp the swift blazonry, then lend those tints to thee. On thee to float a few short hours and die. So, in this paragraph, what the poet is saying, or is thy luster. Now, here the meaning of luster is a shine. Okay, now the poet here is asking some thought provoking question to the butterfly. He's asking the creature where it has drawn its luster. So, it has drawn its luster from where? From the heavenly hues. Hues means colors. Okay. A sumptuous drifting fragment of the sky. Therefore, the he compares the butterfly to the sumptuous. Now, sumptuous means gorgeous, very beautiful. Drifting means, okay, the meaning drifting means carried slowly by the current of air and water, or wandering, wander. And fragment means a small part or a piece. So, here what is the poet saying in this line? Is saying that it's a gorgeous drifting fragment of the sky, a piece in the sky, caught when the sunset its last glance imbued. So, at the sunset, the last glance, okay, inspires with sudden splendor, and the treetop high. With a sudden splendor means a sudden, a very impressive beauty on the treetop high. Grasp that swift blazonry. Grasp means hold. Okay, hold the and the quick blazonry. Now, in these lines, the poet present how the butterfly gets such colorful wings. He thinks as if the high tree tops grasped a lustrous, that is shining fragment of the sky, imbued with sudden splendors to form those tints of the wings, that is shades of variety of colors on the wings of the butterfly. Oh, thee to float a few short hours and die. And therefore, these creatures float for a few short hours before dying, resembling to a human soul. Now, let's move to the next paragraph. Okay, birds have their nest, they rear their, their eager young and flit on errands all the livelong days. Each field mouse keeps the homestead whence it sprung. But thou art nature's free man, free to stray, unfettered through the wood, seeking thy airy food, the sweetness spiced on every blossomed spray. So, in this paragraph or in this stanza, the speaker contrasts the birds and the field mice with the butterfly. Now, the birds have nest and they rear their eager young ones. So that rare means they take care of their young ones. The birds, they take care of their young ones. They are always busy throughout the day. So they flit an errand all the live long day. So what they do, flit means to fly, errand means a short journey. They fly nearby places around and they come back, live long day. So they come back. Okay, they're always busy through the day. Besides that, the field mouse, now each field mouse keeps the homestead whence it sprung. So here each field mouse means the mouse that are there in the field. Okay, they also move around here and there and they sprung. Besides, the field mouse also prefers a comfort of a homestead, while the butterfly is nature free. Like even the mouse, it comes back to its house, but this butterfly, okay, but thou the art means thou means they, or you are nature's free man. Thou means you, art means are, but thou are nature's free man means it is saying that you are nature's free man. That is a butterfly. It is a nature's free man, free to stray, to move about. Stray means to move about. Okay, the poet is saying that you are nature's free man, free to stray. You're a free wanderer through the woods and seek only airy food. Unfettered through the wood, seek thine air food. So it's saying that you can move around and seek the airy food. All that the butterfly need is a sweet nectar. So what the butterfly needs, it goes around the flowers and it sucks the sweet nectar present in every blossom, that is in the every flower that is bloomed. So in the last line, the poet uses a repetition of the sound. Yes, the sweetness spiced on every blossomed spray. So in this paragraph is comparing the butterfly to the birds and the mice. Okay. Now the next paragraph, the garden. Please mute your mics. Mute your mics, dear children. The garden, one wide banquet spread for thee, O dainty revealer of the joyous earth. One drop of honey gives satiety, the second draught would drug thee past all mirth. Thy feast no orgy show, thy claim eyes never close, thy calm eyes never close, thou soberest spirit to which the sun gives birth. Now the garden, one wide banquet spread for thee. Now in the stanza number 5, the poet thinks that the garden spread one of the wide banquet for the butterfly. Now, what is banquet? Banquet means a formal dinner for a large number of people. Yes, somebody's mic is on. Please mute it. Please mute your mic, dear children. Okay, the garden, one wide spread for thee. So the garden is widely spread. Okay, there's a banquet. Oh, dentist, revealer. Now, what it is saying, moreover, one drop of honey satisfies, it gives a satisfaction to the butterfly. The second draught or the flow would drug the past all might. Means that if the butterfly, for it only one drop of honey is enough, but if it take the second drop of honey, what will happen? It will become a overdose, or it will be a drug the past all might. Okay, now thy feast no orgy show. Now if it tries a second, as I said already, if it tries a second drought, that would drug it, or it might overdose the butterfly. The feast does not inebriate the creature. Now here, what is the meaning of orgy? Okay, the meaning of orgy is a party. So the feast no party shows, the calm eyes never close. So the butterfly doesn't close its eyes, rather it keeps it calm eyes ever opened. Therefore the poet compares the butterfly to the sober spirit. That is, sober spirit means a very kind, a very uh, peaceful and a normal spirit. It's comparing, which gives birth, which the sun gives birth. Okay, in the last paragraph, and yet the soul of a man upon thy wings forever soars in aspiration thou, his emblem of the new career that springs when death's arrest bid all his spirit bow. He seeks his hope in thee of immortality, symbol of life, me with such faith endow. So, in this lines, that is the paragraph number 6, the poet upholds the creature's significance. Okay, he upholds the butterfly's importance. The soul of the man soars in aspirance. Okay, aspiration means a hope. The soul of the man flies. Soars means flies high in the air. Okay, the soul of a man flies high in hope upon the wings of a butterfly. It gives a new career that springs far after death. So, what the poet is telling, it gives a new career that springs after one's death. Moreover, when death makes one's spirit to bow, the butterfly flies or brings hope in the human beings. Okay, it reminds one of the immortality of the soul. Now, immortality means the ability to live forever. It doesn't die, it lives forever. It reminds one of the immortality of the soul. And lastly, what the poet says, it says that it is a symbol of life and it provides him with faith. Yes, somebody's mic is on. Please mute it. So much of noise coming. Still, the mic is on. So, this poem was written by Thomas Wentworth Higginson. Now, just I'll brief you the summary of the poem. The poem begins with a reference to the butterfly as a spark of life. So, the poet says the butterfly is a spark of life. The poet compares the butterfly with other creatures of nature. Okay, the poet symbolizes the essence of life, and its lovely wings symbolizes to freedom. The poet symbolizes the essence of life, and its lovely wings symbolizes freedom. The speaker of the poem thinks that it is to be fostering child of nature. He compares the butterfly as a fostering child of nature. It gets its colors. The butterfly gets its colors from the heaven. And what it feeds? The butterfly feeds on the honey that soothes its soul. And at last, the poet describes it as a symbol of life and seeks hope from this creature. Okay, now let us look at the literary devices. That is the figure of speech. And in this poem, we are going to see metaphor, personification, anaphora, alliteration, and apostrophe. So these are the figure of speech in this poem. Okay, now first is metaphor. Metaphor is a comparison of two things without using the words like or as. Now, in figure of speech, there is one figure of speech also that is known as simile. So, in simile, we use the words like or as, but in metaphor, without using these words like or as, we compare two things. Okay, the poet uses several metaphors in this poem. In the first line, the spark of life is a metaphor for the butterfly. So, without using like or as, he is comparing the butterfly to a spark of life. So, it is a metaphor. Okay, now in personification. Now, what is personification? Personification is to give human qualities to inanimate object. Inanimate object. Okay, so here is saying songless wanderer. So it is a personification. Is comparing the songless wanderer to the songbirds. Then anaphora. Now what is anaphora? In the first two lines as well, anaphora, the repetition of a word or expression at the start of two or more consecutive lines. So in the first paragraph, you can see, thou sparks of life that wavest wings of gold, thou songless wanderer, made the songful bird. So thou and thou is coming continuously in two lines. So this is known as anaphora. Anaphora, the repetition of words or expression at the start of two or more consecutive lines. So it can be either two or more consecutive lines, and in the first paragraph it is in the first and the second line, and the word is thou. What is alliteration? Now, in the third stanza, the poet uses alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of a consonant sound at the starting of the two or more closely placed words. So you know vowels and consonants. So here in alliteration, okay, the words, okay, the consonant sound of at the starting of two or more closely placed words. That is, you can see down there, heavenly hues. Now heavenly hues, the first word, that is h. Okay, heavenly h and hues h, they both are consonants. Okay, so they're coming side to side, heavenly hues. So this is an alliteration. In the same way, tree tops, the word t and t. So this is known as, this is a consonant and this is a alliteration. And apostrophe is used in the line, O daintiest revealer of the joyous earth. This is the apostrophe. So these were the literary device in your poem. Also, the rhyming scheme of the poem. Okay, now the rhyming scheme of the poem is first, the let us see in the paragraph, first paragraph. Okay, the first paragraph, thou sparks of life that wavest wings of gold. Now, here you can see the gold and birds. Then you can see unrolled, words, child, beagled, and herds. Now gold is rhyming with unrolled. Birds, sorry, golds and birds are not rhyming. So gold is A. Okay, the rhyming scheme is A here, and the rhyming scheme of B, birds. It is not rhyming with birds. Gold is not rhyming with birds, but it is rhyming with unrolled. Gold, unrolled. So what is the rhyming scheme here? This is A and unrolled is A, whereas this becomes B. Okay, bird is rhyming with words. So this is again B. A, B, A, B. Okay, A, B, A, B. Now, child is not rhyming with any of these words. So this becomes C. So child is rhyming with beagled. Child, beagled. So this is C and C. Okay, C and C. And herd is again rhyming with B. Words, herds, birds. These all are rhyming. So they are B, B, B. So A, B, A, B, C, C, B. This is the rhyming scheme of the poem. Okay, just give me a second, dear children. Yeah, 1 minute.